Hey there, wrestling fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Grandel Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ben Simon, and today I'm joined by the miracle worker, Davy Vega. Davey, welcome to the show.
What's up, Ben?
A lot of good things,
Yeah.
a lot of exciting times here in St. Louis,
Mhm.
big shows being announced, and I'm glad to have you on today, so
Hey,
thank you.
I'm glad to be here. You guys hit me up, and I'm more than ecstatic to do this stuff. So,
We've almost got all of the four pillars of St. Louis wrestling at
Who's
this
left?
point. Well, we had Warhorse, and we had Gary J.,
so you get,
and we have you.
we need Fitchett. That son of a bitch. Excuse my language.
We'll get him. We'll get you, man.
We'll get
Fitchett.
you.
Yeah. So, why do they call you the Miracle Worker? Where did that name come from? Have you had to fix some bad matches?
It's actually funny that you mentioned that. It was actually a joke that one of my wrestling buddies, Chris Wolf from Dallas, Texas. I'm sorry, Fort Worth, Texas.
No, very different.
Yeah, very different. I learned that the hard way. Fort Worth, Texas. I was wrestling. It was during my Texas times, probably 2014, 2015, when I started using the nickname. But I guess I did something, and he was like, "Man, you kept that match together, or you did this and that. You're the miracle worker, brother. You get. I don't know how you did it." And then just like every once in a while, he's like, "Dude, that would have been trash if it wasn't for you. Miracle worker added again." So I added it to my thing. So
That could be a dangerous moniker, you know. They might have a little too much confidence promoters put you in there with some suspect talent.
Well, and, also my other one, Ace of Anarchy, so I got to keep that one up too. So like I got all the tough nicknames, man. Like I have high expectations in all my nicknames apparently. So.
Good stuff. You were born in Canton, Ohio.
Yes.
Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
But came to St. Louis. Talk about your early years going into wrestling. You came to St. Louis. What brought you here?
I came to St. Louis when I was 13, so 1997. It was right 97, 98, right around 12 or 13 I came here. And it was really because my dad moved out here. And it was like, not to get too heavy already, but my mom and dad split, divorce. My mom decided that we would have been better off with my dad growing up being boys. So boys need their dad. So she thought that would be better. And I was a mama's boy, so it was a tough transition for me.
That is tough.
But it helped. Wrestling helped out a lot with, thick skin too, but it helped out. But I was pretty young, 12, 13. And I started almost immediately after that, I met my wrestling buddies, and we started backyard wrestling in 99.
And these are humans, not the plush
Yeah,
toys.
no, these are humans. I met my best friend in my best friend Mark, Iron Man Mark Stone was his name. I met him in freshman year of high school, and he loved WWE and ECW. He actually turned me on to ECW, and then all the indie stuff. He was going to, not to jump too far ahead, but he was going to the Gateway Championship Wrestling shows, the adults F and only shows.
Beloved here in St. Louis.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was going to those, and he took me to those and opened my fucking eyes. So I met him freshman year, and it was downhill or uphill from there with wrestling. So
Well, we know that eventually you come to be trained by Dingo.
Yes.
A local wrestling legend.
Yes.
But you started in the backyard. What made you decide to take your training legit, I guess?
I had always been watching wrestling, I think, since like 92, but I really hooked me in like 94. The match that hooked me was it was Stone Cold versus Savio Vega, the strap match that they had. I think they did it twice in that year, but it was a strap match, and ever since then I was like every Monday watching it. Just a huge fan. So I was just always a big fan, and I decided it came to a point in high school where it was like, well, it's either baseball or wrestling, and I chose wrestling. So I did the backyard for a long time, and then my buddy who backyarded with me, who became Johnny Vinyl, started training before me at Gateway, and I didn't. In the back of my head, I was like, this guy's got a head start on me. Mm-hmm. Like, what the hell? But that was just me, like, being young and fucking cocksure or whatever. But I ended up, I ended up starting late, too. He started getting trained. He was younger than me. I started probably 2021. but I decided to start then. I wanted to start earlier, but like everyone was requesting like parent signatures and shit, so I had to wait.
Who needs that?
Yeah, who wants that?
Yeah.
So
Well, you mentioned Gateway Championship Wrestling.
Yes.
Now, back in the early 2000s, there were several companies in the St. Louis area. There was the MMWA, SICW at South Broadway.
Yep.
That was kind of like the older group. Gateway Championship Wrestling was the cool group.
So I wasn't there exactly for that, like that transition. Like I came, I didn't find out about Gateway until they were already fucking cool. Like they already were like probably 15, 20 shows of the adults F and only at that point. So, but like, yeah, they were badass.
And by the time you were training, Big Bad Ben, the promoter of Gateway Championship Wrestling,
Yep.
was folding the company basically, and Dynamo
Yes.
Pro was coming up from the ashes, if not a legal, then a spiritual successor.
Absolutely. I don't know if they mind me using their names, but Evil Jim and Crystal.
Oh, we've already used their names.
Okay, perfect. Evil Jim and Crystal
Yunts,
decided
yeah.
to continue because Dingo was Gateway's guy. Like he was on the come up. He was everyone was tabbing him to be like the next big like St. Louis guy to break out. So they wanted to like continue momentum, and they just didn't want to fold shop. Ben decided that he wanted to get out, and Jim and Crystal did not. So that's when Dynamo started, and it was right in between. I started training when I was beginning of 2006, and during the at Gateway, it was Gateway then, and then they transitioned probably at the end of the summer, where they were like, okay, we're folding up shop. And it was probably 2 to 3 months after that where everything transitioned to Utopia and to Dynamo and everything. By the end of 2006, I think they had their first show.
What do you mean Utopia?
Utopia was the training center for
Oh, okay.
Dynamo. Yeah, before they moved back to the Limp Brewery.
Wait, are we talking about the Utopia Studios that's around today? Oh,
Yeah,
well,
they ran training. That's where I helped Dingo run training for a long time.
That is tremendous
Yeah.
because we know now that Team Ambition has moved to
Yeah.
Utopia Studios.
Yep.
So full circle. I
Yeah,
had
full
no
circle, man.
idea.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
wild.
wild. How about that? So Dynamo Pro also still around today. One thing I wanted to talk about, we're getting kind of hyper local
Yeah.
here. For those that are, out of the St. Louis loop, this might interest you as well, though. When you were in Dynamo Pro with Jim and Crystal, the promoters, they were members or promotions, I don't know the term that was used, of the NWA of like 2008.
Yeah,
And
I'd say members probably.
and that meant that they had the right to promote the NWA regional championships, including
Yes.
the Missouri State title. And
Correct.
you were the Missouri State champion.
I did. I won that belt off of Dingo, actually.
Yeah.
And I held it for, I don't think I defended it for a while because there was a dip in shows at that point. I don't remember why, but I think I held it for probably 2 years or so before I had to relinquish it. I just couldn't keep up with, like, my schedule started to pick up after that, so I just couldn't keep up with all the dates.
I was on Wikipedia today. Don't worry, this is going somewhere. And I went to the page for the NWA Missouri Heavyweight title. And for the longest time, the NWA Midwest, Dynamo Pro, and the more recent Missouri title reigns were up there with the greats Harley Race and Ric Flair of the classic era. And now someone scrubbed it. They said, well, the modern era doesn't belong. What do you say about that,
Really?
Davy Vega? Yeah.
Man, because I was on that list.
Yeah.
That was
well,
pretty cool.
We can,
That was an
we can
accomplishment
put your
for me.
ass right back on
Yeah,
that list.
you know what? I'm going to go on Wikipedia today and put my ass back on that list.
What did the title mean to you?
Honestly, I think that was my first big title win. And being NWA, like, I wasn't a part of that NWA. Like, NWA was pretty much gone by the time I watched WWE at
Definitely,
that point.
yeah.
So I didn't have those memories. I've gone back and watched stuff, but I didn't have the NWA memories. I had the WWE or WWF like mid '90s memories, right before the Attitude Era. So I had those memories, and then ECW and all that. So, but I have gone back and watched all that stuff. So I knew how much NWA meant to people, especially around St. Louis, like wrestling at the Chase. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
So it was first big title win, and then all of that, and then like seeing my name on that list of all the champions, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like that was a huge accomplishment for me. So I held that, the title in pretty high regard and defended it for Dynamo a few times. So it was one of my big accomplishments.
We take a step into maybe the next phase of your career when you're wrestling in Texas, and I believe for the LWA as well. And I think in Texas is where you met Matt Fitchett. Is that right?
So Matt Fitchett actually started training at Dynamo in 2009. And that I had just started traveling to Texas in 2009. And I had been training at Dynamo, and like they had promoted me to like co-trainer with Dingo right before Fitchett was there. And I actually had a big hand in Fitchett's training. But I met him there, and then shortly thereafter, he was just a natural. Like within 6 months, had his first match, and then within a year was on the road with us to Texas. So yeah, that's I met him at Dynamo, helped him train, and he off to the races from there. So.
You guys must have hit it off from the start, huh?
No, we hated each other. No. There, he made like initially before he started training because like. And like this was like just how, stuff being passed down through wrestling can be to people. I was kind of hard-headed and hard-nosed, like, oh, you got to be respectful this and respectful that, blah, blah, blah. He's playing around too much. So I didn't think he had respect for the business. So I didn't hate him, but I was just like, I don't think I want to be around this guy. Like, I don't think I'm going to like him. Lo and behold, a few months later, he hops in the car with us, and we've driven in the car and been in car loads probably 90% of our careers together. So
how did the Besties in the World start as a formalized tag team? I know you went by other names before.
Yeah,
the Besties.
There was quite a few renditions. We started tagging in 2010, very sporadically, just whenever like people in Texas needed us to tag. Whatever, not a big deal. But we started, we realized we had chemistry real early. And I think it might have been just because we trained together and like I helped out with his training. So I think maybe that. And then like as we started to, travel more, we started to connect more on like a human level. We didn't become the Besties until I want to say 2016. Like we started teaming at AAW again at the end of 2015 or probably mid 2015 going into 2016.
I think the first time I announced you guys to the ring, you were like the Cobra Kai Dojo.
Yes, we were that for Metro Pro, and that was probably 2013, 2014-ish, I'd say. And we did that for a while, and that was just because they wanted to do like they were doing TV at the time, I think, and they wanted more gimmicky stuff.
Sure.
Side note, they actually were trying to get William Zabka to come to the ring with us on a show.
Nice.
He refused because he's like, oh, I left all that stuff in the past. And that motherfucker started doing Cobra Kai Dojo show. Son of a bitch. Yeah, there's a little story for you. But he was supposed to come out and be, we did a big like 6-man. He was supposed to be like our sensei.
Yeah.
And like who was supposed to like come out and like accompany us, but we ended up getting Dingo out of retirement instead, so it kind of worked out.
You guys were pretty established as a tag team though, you and Fitchett.
Yeah.
And he dare I say retired for a little bit for a few years?
Yeah, I think it was close to
or so?
Yeah, I think it was close to 2 years or so. He just wasn't happy with I don't think he was happy with a lot of things. With his position in wrestling, he had tore his quad right before we were supposed to work the Briscoe brothers at AIW, and he was just like, "I'm getting hurt all the time, and it's just not worth it to me anymore." And I was like, everybody was trying to convince him, and it was like, hey, you just got to let him do what he wants to do at this point. Yeah. But he got. I think deep down he just had some stuff that he needed to get out of his way. And he came back strong in 2015.
I think people that are around wrestling as much as us, we see a lot of stories unfold like that, and oftentimes they don't come back. So it makes it that much more special when they do.
Well, and not only that, but like he also has been wrestling amateur since he was 4 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that takes a toll on you. He went from amateur wrestling right into professional wrestling, and it was just like a lot of years of wrestling, and he just wanted to. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't keep a lot of contact with him during that period just because he had some stuff that he needed to get done, and he got that off his plate. In 2015, he came back strong, and like I said, 85-90% of our careers have been riding with each other, and just like legitimately, like the besties in the world isn't a gimmick. Like we're legitimately best friends. Like I talk to him every day. So
Right. We talked about the Lethal Wrestling Alliance. That's the predecessor company to St. Louis Anarchy. Isn't that funny how that works? Like all these companies, they just kind of fold into the next one.
Yeah.
But you've been a mainstay of St. Louis Anarchy. Talk about your relationship with the godfather of Anarchy, Pierre Abernathy, Matt Jackson, the other Matt Jackson.
I met him in 2007, and he only booked me as a favor to Dingo. He was like, I don't, whatever. This guy's whatever, but I'll use him. And then after that, he's used me. I believe almost every show since then. He saw something since then. But met him in 2007, and by 2009 was in the car traveling with him, and we've all been friends since. I'd say probably 2007 since I met
Submission
him, so.
Squad, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. We were all a submission squad.
I love that.
We were the squad car everywhere we went. That's how people knew us.
I love it. When Fitchett returns in 2016, you're the besties in the world.
Yep.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind, look, I watch a lot of TV wrestling, and I follow local indies, regional indies. Who used the name first? Was it the besties in the world or Chuck and Trent best friends? What the hell is going on here? This is gimmick infringement.
Yeah. It was 1,000% them. They used it shortly before us. And I want to say we just needed something. So the gimmick going into it was Danny had just had at AAW, Danny Daniels had Eric Cannon and Jimmy Jacobs as tag champions, like the odd couple. Like they hate each other, doesn't work well, but somehow they're getting these fucking wins. Somehow they win the tag titles. Somehow they're making this work. And I think we were kind of that experiment, but it was just it was way more organic because of how long, because everyone knew we were tagging everywhere else but AAW, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, why isn't this happening? It was because people fucking hated me at AAW. Like the crowd, it was legit. Like I got heat every time I came out.
It's just this organic.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like I don't know where it came from. The the Zack Sabre chants, oh Zack Sabre Jr. You know those chants. Well, people at AEW are going, oh fuck Davy Vega. Yeah, that's like, I had my own fucking chant, but it was because they hated me.
All right.
So he put us back together, and he had like that baby face, like they were pushing him as baby face, and they put us together, and it was fucking magic, dude.
Yeah.
Like every month we were coming up with stupid shit to do, like just to keep doing. And eventually people came to love us, and then come to love my antics, and then they just loved us together. It got to a point where they're like, besties are definitely going to fight each other, definitely going to do it. And then it started to like kind of, they're like, I don't think they're going to do it. And they're like, we do not want them to break up. Do not do this. You know what I mean? So like, it was kind of cool to see that transition over the years. And I mean, we've been besties since 2016-ish. It was a lot of fun.
The Grandel Wrestling Podcast would like to salute our partners who make all this possible. First, the St. Louis Kings of the Calzone, sauce on the side in the Grove. You can't go wrong with the Pancho Villa or one of their dessert calzones. There is an art to this dish, and there is one master artist of the calzone, sauce on the side. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. You guys have some cool trademarks. Your double team brainbuster on the knee is just amazing.
Thank you.
I think the trademark that is most beloved by the fans is the Savage Garden intro, truly, madly, deeply.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I guess unless you got signed by AEW and Tony Khan bought the rights to that, I'm predicting. But no,
let's hope.
It couldn't be on TV. But on the indies, it's magical.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
So I'm actually I got a pretty wide spectrum of what I listen to, and I do listen to Savage Garden from time to time. That being a big hit back in '98 or whatever year.
You're very 1998 tag team.
I'm a very I love the '90s to begin with. Like '90s was a great era in my opinion. But just a big '90s guy. So one day we were on our way to AAW for a show. And I think we had already become besties in the world. We were trying to figure out like a theme song at that point. We were coming out to like from Bad Blood by Taylor Swift, I think, at the time, because it kind of meshed with the gimmick we were going with. And it was like we were just rotating through music at this time. It's like we don't know what to do. So I'm literally at a gas station on the shitter, like, and it comes.
That's where the best things happen.
Exactly. It's where magic happens. On my phone, about to tweet something. Music comes on. Savage Garden, Truly Madly Deeply. Taking a shit at this gas station on my way to AEW. I'm like, yo, this is I'm gonna use this as, or I didn't say I was gonna use this as a theme song. I think I popped it on Twitter. I was just like, oh man, I'm at the gas station and the song came on, like blah blah blah. It's so good. Well, Danny Daniels caught this online on the off chance that he was online. Text me off to the side. He's like, you don't have the balls to use that as a theme song. And I was like, not only do I have the balls to use that as a theme song, I'm going to get it over. And he was like, I'll pay you more money. And I was like, you're not going to threaten me with money. Yes, I'm going to take the money. So that night we came out to Truly Madly Deeply, and I don't think anybody understood what was going on the first couple times, but then like we started with the jackets and the dance moves, and people were like, what the fuck, but in the good way. Mm-hmm. And it's just been everywhere we go. It's like everyone's like, oh, you got to watch this. You got somebody in the crowd's like, oh, you got to watch this. And then by the next show, people are doing the dances.
Oh,
so,
they're totally into
yeah.
They freaking love
it's a lot of fun, man, especially over in England. Like, one of my favorite things, we were over in England and we were doing it, and they cut the music right when the sky falls down on me. They cut the music, and you would have thought the music was still going because the fucking crowd sang the rest of the song with us. I legitimately started crying in the ring. It was such a good, like, I know that's like kind of a nerdy thing, but like that was a big moment. That was a huge moment. Like, we're over in England and it was us, we were over. Like, it was nice. It was a good feeling.
Yeah. It's, you know,
not to like toot my own horn or whatever.
That's a special thing. I mean, that's
I have my best friend there, and like, man, like we've gotten to the point where like there was one time we were in England and we really needed it. We needed to have like a really, really good match. It was right before we wrestled British Strong Style, and ever since then, like, we knew like we both needed to be on. So like we'll hug each other before we go out, and we'll tell each other that we love each other. And that's like our ritual kind of thing. And ever since then, like, that was like that we did the first time we did that, because we knew we had to have like a big performance, and we did. And they booked us against British Strong Style the next time. And it was just like, ever since then, it was kind of like our ritual. Not that I kind of went off on the side here.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
In 2017, multimillionaire Major Bayston comes to Missouri, and he forms the National Wrestling League. Longtime viewers and listeners know what I'm talking about, so I'll spare you. You and Matt were the Blood Brothers.
Yes.
And Davy Gibson, and he was Matthew Grundy.
Yes.
Okay, so all the St. Louisans hated the name change.
Oh, yeah.
But what did you get anything from the NWL experience?
Oh, 100%. Like, not only like in ring, but there was a period where I was hurt for a couple shows, and it was starting to happen more and more often. Like, hey, my knee is acting up again, I have to take a show off or whatever. I didn't take off. I did producing. Like, they taught me how to produce. Like, I was producing segments. I was doing promos with people. I was relaying stuff to the ref when I needed to. I don't know if I'm revealing the curtain too much here, but
well, this is some stuff I didn't know. Is this just St. Louis or
this is like the NWO as a whole? I did a couple shows. I did one in Kansas City at the Turner Rec, and then a couple shows in St. Louis down at the Casa Loma. And they just taught me how to produce and put shit together, and now I got that in my back pocket. And I mean, I've always been learning this stuff. Like, I learned how to set up the audio, because that's what Jim would teach everybody. He's like, because the dude's a whiz at the audio stuff. He's like, this is how you set all this stuff.
Jim Yant and Dynamite.
Yeah. I learned from him to do that. And like, not only that, but like, I learned heating and cooling from him, like, because I used to work side jobs with him. Like, yeah. So just the stuff that I learned through wrestling is like, that I can put in my back pocket and have for later. Like, the producing was amazing. So I have that now. I learned that. And then in wrestling, like wrestling in the ring, being able to like, I feel like during those years, the 2017 until 2019 or whenever they ended, was probably some of my best work. especially after the first like 6 months of NWL, and we hit our stride. Right going, like, I think it was the back half of back half of 2017, going into like the early half of 2018.
After the city rivalry.
Yeah,
ended.
yeah. After that ended, they
Yeah.
knew that needed to end. After that, it was like literally it was off to the races. The ratings started to go, like, we were on TV, other places, like ratings went up. Like seats were getting filled, like attendance was up everywhere, like all the house shows everywhere. So it was real cool to like get that experience.
Did you guys want to be the besties?
We did. I remember that call, the call that we had to be on, and I don't remember his name. And I think he had a couple other good ideas for NWL, but his ideas for us were fucking garbage.
Was it the original marketing guy?
I think his name was Travis.
Travis Scott.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Rest in peace. I love you, Travis. But also, he didn't like my phone interview.
He's dead?
He died, yes.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
Yeah, he passed away about a year or two ago. He was a big fixture in Memphis wrestling.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Well, yeah, rest in peace. Holy shit, I did not know that. Anyway, like, I'm sorry, but like the names weren't great. He wanted to call me, if I remember correctly, it was Matt Blue and Davy Cardinal, or vice versa,
Holy cow.
because of the Blues and the Cardinals, and they wanted us to go up against the Regals, who were the Royals.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's how deep they wanted to get this city stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a little
So and everyone was like, "This is fucking stupid." Like, and I'm sitting on the call, and I'm like, I'm just shaking my head, and I'm like, "This is not what I fucking signed up for." Yeah. And then I got to Pierre was like, "Hey, Matt Jackson." Off to the side, I was like, "Hey, man, this is the shit that this guy wants me to do. I'm better off doing the indie stuff. Like, I'm not signing anything." Like, and he was like, no, like, we'll figure it out. And then we had a couple more talent meetings where we all agreed on Matt Grundy and Davey Gibson. Mine was for like the Gibson guitar, but also Bob Gibson for the Cardinals. So I still kept kind of that city,
That's cool.
whatever with the name.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't very long before we came back as the besties, because like, why wouldn't we? Like, we were well known at that point.
Yeah.
Like, we had just gotten back from England, like in 2018 and all that shit. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? You know what I mean? So they smartened up.
So the NWL comes to an end, and everybody's back on the indie scene, but it's like we never really left.
Right.
And you and Matt are the besties once again. I gotta ask the hard-hitting question. You're definitely maybe the most established tag team. Are you the best tag team in Greater St. Louis?
100%.
Are you the best tag team in all of Missouri and Illinois?
100%.
What about the entire Midwest? We're talking about Ohio to the Dakotas to Kansas.
Yes.
I love it. Yes.
This is how, and this is, I don't like to like have that debate a lot, only because, I mean, there are places that don't know who we are. Like, it's not everybody's going to know who we are. I feel that, and you'll see this with a couple tag teams that we've wrestled, if you start saying that you're the best tag team in the world after you beat us, I think that's saying something.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Really
So,
good point.
I take note of some things that I see. I'm just saying, like, I love tag team wrestling. I love all the tag teams on the scene. I just think there are only two tag teams in the world, or not in the world. There's one tag team in America and one tag team over in England that I say are better than the besties, and those are the only two tag teams.
Would you care to mention them?
Aussie Open and JD Drake and Anthony Henry. Those are the only two tag teams that I feel are better than us.
Very nice.
Yes. And if anybody wants to come test that, we're an open book. Let us know.
In 2018, you and Matt had an opportunity in Ring of Honor. You met the Briscoes.
Yes.
For the Ring of Honor Tag Team
Yes.
Championship.
We actually had two matches that card. We had I guess what they would have considered like a internet exclusive.
Right.
Against Brian Johnson and his partner Justin.
Oh, there's people screaming at the screen right now, and I can't help you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I can't. Don't remember. And that's not a detract. I'm just terrible with names.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially getting hit in the head for 15 years. But we wrestled them to like win the opportunity to wrestle the Briscoes.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, we didn't know that going into the show.
Oh, nice.
But that was cool. We got to kind of show our stuff in that match, and a little bit of our stuff in the Briscoes match. But yeah, we wrestled them for the Ring of Honor Tag Championships, and that was awesome. Like like I said, we were supposed to wrestle them back at AIW back in 2014 before he tore his quad, and we never had the chance to. And then just being able to work them, and then get peeling back the curtain, some of the compliments that they gave us at the end of it, like after the show, worth it, like 100% worth it. So
you have definitely networked with all the right people.
Yes.
You've made some very valuable friendships. Before the show today, producer Joey O'Farrell was talking about how back in November at AEW here in St. Louis, Eddie Kingston was in the back. You were working that show.
Yes.
And he's like, Vega.
Yeah.
Talk about how your friendship with Eddie Kingston.
So I've always enjoyed Eddie Kingston's work before. I was always a fan before I was his friend. So, but you're also like back in that time, I met him in 2008. And back in that time, you would get made fun of for being a mark or whatever for somebody. I was kind of open about it because I didn't give a shit.
Let's embrace it.
Yeah, like I was like, dude, I'm next to these guys learning from these people who I've watched for the last however many years. Why wouldn't I get excited about that? Right. You know what I mean? It was weird to me where people's mind go sometimes. So I've known him since 2008. There was Dingo actually introduced me to him. And the first thing he made me do, I don't remember the conversation, but it ended up with me holding his pocket like a prison thing. It was like a prison thing where you hold someone's pocket. And you're like,
I'm not familiar.
I think it means you're their bitch for the day.
Oh, how about that? Okay. All right.
So I got roped into that as a rib. And ever since then, every time I saw him, there was a big gap when I didn't see him. And then I started seeing him more frequently. And I actually told him that story. And he forgotten about it, but remembered it. And ever since then, we've been close. Like, he texts me off to the side, see how I'm doing. Every show that I'm on with him, he's always screaming or hollering or hooting about me. Like, it's stuff like that, like being able to watch these guys and then like the friendships that I've made through the years with these people. It's kind of surreal, but also really cool at the same time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So we've gone through a hell of a pandemic. You guys have come out the other end. Everything is going pretty good. I mean, the scene is really strong right now.
Us ourselves, kind of. I think we've lost a little bit of momentum on this, just a little bit, because like we didn't travel a ton during the pandemic. And I think
was that a personal choice, or just like you couldn't get booked anywhere?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Just because like in the middle half of 2020, I had my kid, and I didn't want to bring that stuff home if I did get it, with him being a newborn and stuff. So I didn't want to do that. And it was more of a personal choice. But by the back half of 2020, I think we started wrestling, and we're on the upswing momentum wise, I'd say.
Well, very
especially good. with Fitchett, like super proud of him. He's AEW heavyweight champion. Like, that's awesome.
It is sweet, yeah. And whether it's singles or tag, you guys seem to be on top wherever you go.
We somehow, some way, we always get it. I don't like. We've always been those guys that pride ourselves on like hard work and not like politicking backstage, and like I feel like that's maybe why we're like where we're at right now. It's like we don't really politic a ton. So
we're nearing the end, but I want to ask you another hard hitting question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a bona fide family now.
Mm-hmm.
You have a kid.
Yep.
If WWE called tomorrow and was like, "Hey, move to Florida," would you?
I'd have to have a lot of hard discussions, and seeing.
They might only keep you for a month too.
Exactly. If it was another company, then yes, I might do it. But that's kind of like you have to add that in now, obviously. So that's a detraction from that company now. I'd have to have a lot of hard conversations, but like sitting here having to answer the question, I would probably say no, just because I think it'd be too hard of a transition for my family. Yeah. So.
And things are good.
Exactly.
You've been a 15-year pro.
Whew.
So you're talking about the headshots. You
Yeah.
told me about the back problems.
Yep.
How much longer are you going to go?
'Cause
You seem pretty young to me still, and I think to all the fans out there.
I like, even with the injuries, like, I feel good.
Yeah.
I'm not at that point in the career where, like, I'm forgetting, like, huge segments of my life and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's scary.
Like, yeah, that's scary. Like, I just got, like, the normal forgetfulness, and that's just me as a person. Yeah. I don't know. I'm wrestling with a couple, like, nagging injuries, but, like, nothing too serious. I've actually had it looked at where it's like, oh yeah, you could probably do this for, a handful of years. Now, if I were to get signed by a company who, I could take care of myself a little bit better. I do chiropractor and massage and stuff like that. I try to keep myself in top shape, but money is a big factor in a lot of that stuff too. So I think if I were to get signed, I could probably extend my career probably beyond that. But I'd say I'd probably have a handful of years left in front of the camera.
The Southwest Diner, serving up diner staples and foods of the American Southwest. Southwest Diner has been a favorite of locals and visitors alike since 2012. If you're into the classics, you can't go wrong with the biscuits and homemade sausage gravy. You like spice? Dig into Jonathan's famous fiery scramble. They also do an excellent smash burger. You gotta check it out. The crispy edges are amazing. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it.
Before we go, though,
yes,
I warned you that we were going to ask for your wrestling horror story.
Yes.
The worst, the scariest from the road, the ring, the locker room. And you have some contenders. What do you have for us today?
So it was two, but it all happened in the same weekend. And one's just kind of like, I'll tell you this one first because I don't know if it'll be as good as the rib. So it was Ted Petty weekend in 2008. Same weekend I met Eddie Kingston. We were staying in a hotel room, Dingo and I. And, normal night, you take off your shoes, get dressed for bed, whatever. And there's a separation of the beds, and in the middle, it's like, desk, normal hotel room. So we go to sleep. Everything's accounted for. We wake up, and we're doing our thing, getting ready. And there's just a pair of rolled up socks in the middle of the floor between the beds. We both find our own socks and shoes and all that. And everything else is accounted for. But whose socks are these? They weren't there the night prior. So now, unless it's a big elaborate rib that Dingo has never let me in on.
No, these like folded up, like bunched
literally
up,
like,
just,
so you put two socks together and then like roll them up like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're fresh socks.
I don't even know if they were fresh. They were just a pair of socks rolled up in the middle of the floor that weren't there 7 hours prior to that.
Okay.
So again, if it was an elaborate prank that Dingo is playing on me still to this day, hey, you're the king, man. Like I to this day, no idea where those socks came from. That's just more of like a what the fuck kind of moment.
Sure.
Same weekend, I get ribbed. I had just worked IWA the night prior, IWA Mid-South, and I didn't realize it, but I sat in Ian Rotten's chair.
Oh. The promoter's chair?
Yeah, because I literally had 3 minutes to get ready. It was like, you guys are on in 5, go get dressed, blah, blah, blah. It was like that quick. It was like, oh, shit. So I'm getting dressed, and there was like a Willie Nelson shirt on the back or whatever. And like, I wasn't even sweating. It was,
yeah.
I'm just trying to get changed, man. And like, I don't want to show people my fucking dick in the middle of the locker room. So I'm trying to get changed. I'm getting through my bag, boom, 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 pulling all my stuff on. They're going over the match, blah, 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 boom, 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 pulling my shit on, da, da, da. And then I just hear behind me, what the fuck, sweating all over my shirt, blah, blah, blah. And then I just turn around. Dingo's getting yelled at by Ian Rotten because I'm sitting in Ian Rotten's chair that I didn't realize was his chair because I was too busy being anxious about getting my gear on before my music hit.
So he's yelling at Dingo because he's your trainer.
Correct.
Liaison, yeah.
And that Dingo looks straight at me, get up. And I have my, I'm naked. And I have my tights right here. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm starting to pull them up. And they're like, get up, get up, get up, get up. And I'm like, fuck. And I stand up and pull them up real quick. And then, like, it was like, I didn't care. I was just like, shit, like, I just wanted to put my stuff on. So, like, going out, he's like, he's disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. You pin on him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to wrestle, dude. Like, I don't care. Like, in my eyes, I wasn't being disrespectful. It was just I chose the nearest seat to get ready on.
Right.
And whatever. So anyway, end of the night, he comes up to me. He's like, hey, sorry about that, blah, blah, blah. And, like, everything was cool. Now, following night, we're at the big Joliet venue for TPI, and they decide to play a rib on me, and I go outside to grab something from the car. Hey, Vega, come sit here, come sit here. I sit down. Now I've taken his son, John Calvin's seat. He comes in, sees this, he's like, dude, that's my seat. And I go, oh, hey, let me go. He's no, no, you sit there. And mind you, this is like a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't even remember how old he was. He's young at this point.
Right.
So he's like, no. You stay there, blah, blah, blah. And then everyone's like, ooh, like, and he goes running off. And I'm like, well, I'm fucked. I knew right then and there something was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Later that night, I wrestle. Backstage, I'm having a good time talking to a couple of my buddies, like, oh man, this is great. Like, I'm having a decent experience because, you know, I put the other ribs behind me. I put the John Calvin and the Ian stuff behind me at that point. So then I hear Dingo getting yelled at again in the corner of the room. And I kind of glance, and Submission Squad's there also. Pierre Abernathy, Evan Jalistico, Gary J. I'm talking to Lewis Linden. And like, I'm kind of like half paying attention now because like, he's getting yelled at hard. Like, he disrespectful this, disrespectful that. He's your fucking student. Took my kid's seat now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's definitely me. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I stand up because now I'm getting pointed at. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. So I stand up and I'm like, Dingo's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And Dingo's like kind of yelling at me, but not really. The squad's watching this and they're in on it now. They've been in on it. Everybody's in on it. Except for Corporal Robinson. I don't know if you Deathmatch Corporal Robinson.
The name sounds familiar, but I don't know.
As far as I know, is a complete badass. Been in the army, and mostly like King of the Deathmatch stuff. Like I don't fuck with people like that. Like I'm smarter than that.
Sure.
He doesn't realize it. Like this with Ian Rotten, right? In and out of the ring. He starts to reach into his pocket, and he's sliding up behind me. We don't know what's in his pocket. He's sliding up behind me thinking this is, like, actually happening. Like, Ian's really fucking pissed at me. And I'm trying to defend myself. The Submission Squad are sitting down watching this. They see him slinking behind me. They're like, oh, no. They don't know what's going on. And Matt, like, he's seen situations like this unfold. Like, so they form a wall behind me because I have no idea what's going on.
Are you aware of all the formations?
Nope.
Okay.
None of this. Because I'm too busy getting yelled at still. So like, I'm getting yelled at by Ian, getting yelled at by him, and then I hear John Calvin come up. Yeah, he took my seat. Blah blah. I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm never gonna wrestle for the company that I've watched. Like all of these guys that I idolize come through. I'm never going to work here. He's like, you get your shit out of here. You get your disrespect, blah, blah, blah. He actually took my bag and threw it out of the fucking locker room.
13-year-old John Calvin.
No, Ian. Yeah, man, if it would have been John Calvin, how fucking embarrassing would that would have been? I never would have lived that down.
He's got some bass in his voice.
So he threw my shit, and then at that point, like that's when I had a longer fuse back then. So it took a lot for me to just like, you know what, fuck this. So he threw my shit and I go, you know what, that's my personal property. Fuck you, dude. I'm walking out. So I started to walk out and grab my shit and go to the car. I was like, I'm done. And I just kept to myself and I was like, I'll just let it out outside. So as I'm walking away, he's like, and you tell them when you get back to Missouri, you've been ribbed by the best ribber in the business. And I'm like, this was a 2-day fucking thing that I walked into and I had no idea. And I almost got stabbed over it. Like, come on.
Did you end up working the rest of the car?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my God.
I think I've worked for him a handful of times since then too. But yeah, that was probably my most wild.
I was starting to get pissed off for you.
Yeah.
Man. Jeez. How can people follow you online?
Oh man. So Instagram, Davy Vega 85. My Twitter, Davy Vega 85 is no longer active because of Twitter jail. But
Oh my.
yeah, I've been at Panda Bear Vega for a while. And then if you want to catch up with the tag team, it's at Besties ITW. So that's where you can follow and maybe talk to me. I don't know.
I love it. Hey, I'm on Twitter as well. I know it's really tough to
wild.
believe. What a wild place it is. I'm learning more every day. At the Ben Simon, and the show is on Twitter at Grandel Wrestle. We're on Instagram at Grandel Wrestling, and we would love for you to hit up the studio. If you like what you're seeing, Mid-Coast Media here in Midtown St. Louis, contact Chris Denman, and you can record your podcast, whatever you want. There's great facilities here. Back when we were doing audio only, we did that here as well. So it's a great facility. Today's show was engineered by Ryan Torpia and produced, as always, by Joey O'Farrell. Davey, it's been a great time.
Hey,
thank
I've
you
had
so
a
much.
blast.
And until next time, here for the Grandel Wrestling Podcast. Hey, hopefully we'll be more than just a podcast soon, but we'll have to wait and see. This is Ben Simon saying so long from the Show Me State.